Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Usama Shab. Tonight we bring you not just a story but a storm that is building at the very heart of our democracy. The Lok Sabha, it is bracing for a 16-hour political marathon. Tempers are high, tensions are higher. The government and the opposition, they're armed to the teeth with arguments, accusations and agendas. Operation Sindoor, India's bold, unapologetic message to the world, is not just a military strategy. It's a moral statement that enough is enough. And on Monday, that message will echo in that parliament. Prime Minister may rise to speak, the opposition prepares to counter, and the nation is going to watch with bated breath, asking what next, what more, and where do we go from here? This isn't just politics. This is India's resolve on the battlefield and now on the floor of the House as well. So do stay tuned for this very special Operation Sindoor Roundtable. There will be exclusive voices, insider insights, and the road ahead. But before I bring in my guest, a day ahead of this historic discussion in the Parliament, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he invoked Operation Sindoor in Tamil Nadu and said that the military operation ignited a new awakening and self-confidence. Listen in.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने दिखा दिया है कि भारत के दुश्मनों के लिए, आतंकवादियों के लिए अब कोई ठिकाना सुरक्षित नहीं है। और आज जब मैं हेलीपैड से यहां आ रहा था, 3-4 किलोमीटर का रास्ता काटते हुए, और अचानक मैंने देखा एक बड़ा रोड शो बन गया और हरेक के मुंह से ऑपरेशन सिंदूर का जय जयकार हो रहा था। ये पूरे देश में ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने एक नई चेतना जगाई है, नया आत्मविश्वास पैदा किया है और दुनिया को भी भारत की शक्ति को स्वीकार करना पड़ रहा है।
Well, it is going to be an action-packed day in the Parliament. There is a lot to talk about, and we have with us at this moment Dr. Brahma Chelani, a strategic affairs expert. I also have Vice Admiral Anil Kumar Chawla, the former Commanding-in-Chief, Southern Naval Command. We also have Air Vice Marshal Prakash Kumar Srivastav, a defense expert. We'll also be joined in just a short while by Major General Yash Moore, another defense analyst. And later in the show, we'll also have Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnan, the former GOC 15 Corps and 21 Corps. Gentlemen, welcome to NDTV. Let me start by asking you, Vice Admiral Chawla, there is a lot of questions on Operation Sindoor, whether it was symbolic, whether it was, how do people look at it? From my understanding, and back me on this, Operation Sindoor, it was swift, it was precise, and also quite symbolic. How significant was the timing and the messaging behind this strike, sir?
Thank you, Osama. Thank you for having me on. I think it was very significant. I think it was quite successful. It was done extremely well, with precision, at a place and time of our choosing. We clearly stated that we did not want to escalate it on the terrorist targets that were taken on, but that we would respond to any escalation that Pakistan would do. And therefore, we acted and spoke like a responsible nation. And I think in the end, despite all the optics and the PR gimmicks that Pakistan could throw in, the facts came out quite clearly that the damage had been achieved. The targets that were designed to be hit had been hit pretty clearly, and that the other side quickly came to the table for a ceasefire, realizing that this could not go on forever. And hopefully, the message would have gone home better this time, that this sort of a misadventure cannot be tolerated. So I think overall it was a very successful operation. I think across the world also, if you see the opinions that are gradually coming out, people are realizing that this was an action that was taken in response to a very dastardly attack. I think one of the most dastardly attacks that we have seen for many years innocent tourists being gunned down, that too men in front of their women, and that too based on a particular religion. So I think this was something that could really not be tolerated. The handprints of the Pakistanis were clearly visible, and therefore I think it was extremely successful.
Right. Air Vice Marshal Srivastav, do you see this as a limited tactical operation, or do you see this as the beginning of a new military posture from India, sir?
Osama, I think, is both in a way. Because, to start a war or to start a conflict is one of the things you can do. But unless you have power great enough, you cannot bring about enemy to a negotiating table and really extract the peace dividends. So we went for goals to strike the terror centers and send a message that yes, it will not be something that we cannot go deep into behind the lines of ISI or the Pak army and strike you. We struck them well on the first day. And idea was that we dominated the escalatory ladder all the time. That's a very great thing. And to bring about that, all our elements or constituents of air power, land power, sea power, our space power, our cyber power, our electronic warfare power, everything was brought in together. And that's the beauty of this, that we could bring in man, machine, and methods in a manner that struck them very, very hard. And when they retaliated, we were able to go back and again dominate this escalatory ladder. So there is this thing. Idea was not to start a huge war and then lose the dividends of our economy trajectory.
True.
We are on a trajectory. We are not going to take the war for the sake of war, and it was not for the purpose of gaining any grounds on or any territory. So in that sense, it was a great success. And as a nation, I think we must celebrate this, that our own built weapons like Akash, like Akash-Tir, like ISCCS, our concepts of war fighting, they all came together and we were able to give a real blow. And it was surgical in that sense. I'm not talking about the sense of Uri kind of strike.
Yeah.
So you did the surgery without any great collateral damage. So if you look at this from that perspective as an operational thing, it was a great success. And all three forces combined together their might. It's not that Air Force was more visible, but land was secured. The Arabian Sea or our sea lanes and sea was secured. So everything was in place that if you try to do something else, some mischief, we are ready. And they knew this. And therefore, they came to the table of ceasefire. So I think that's something which is given and it's coming out all over in the international papers and media. Yeah. So in my opinion, if you ask the direct question, yes, it was a great success. It was a great success on our indigenous front. It was a great success on our war fighting mechanism and our war fighting machinery. And our nation as a whole, the power of nation as a whole concept. That's what I think, and that's what is my firm belief.
Air Vice Marshal Srivastav, you made two very important points. One is about the Made in India factor that was used in this operation. And the second one, which I want to focus a little bit on at this moment, is about triggering a wider escalation and how we avoided doing that. And that is something that is quite pertinent and very important here. I want to take that question to Major General Yash Moore. Sir, welcome to NDTV. Having said what Mr. Srivastav has said, how carefully calibrated was this strike to send that message without triggering a wider escalation, sir?
Osama, firstly, thank you for inviting me on your program. We followed Sindoor. In fact, we followed the entire sequence of events right from the time this horrific, massacre that took place in Pahalgam.
Yeah.
The messaging was absolutely clear. Every Kashmiri stood with the nation, and the whole nation stood together. So that was, clearly visible. However, as far as the strategic signaling is concerned, our preparedness is concerned, while we have been, it was a great paradigm shift going and hitting targets deep inside Pakistan, especially hitting targets in Punjab, hitting Muridke, and all were really fabulous actions. And the initial part was, the optics was also very good. But that 14-15 days that we took, I think that was too long. if we have war plans ready, and if we have our red lines ready, and if we believe that this kind of a terror action will not go unpunished, then the action should have taken place within initial 3-4 days. So we gave Pakistan that much of time. And I wish we could have toned down the rhetoric and zingoism, especially emanating from TV studios and other things. As a responsible power, that could have been mellowed down a lot. So somewhere our actual messaging was getting lost. And, for that, we had to send our delegations abroad, and we really had to, tell people. So that initial time, our plans must be ready. If anything happens like this, Air Force, Army, Navy, I think the synergy was fantastic. What the AVM was saying, that it really stood out. The synergy between three services, the office of CDS is working very well, and they got that much of time. But I think we gave that crucial time to Pakistan to get their air defense in order, and somehow it looked as though they were also getting prepared. So that part, the shock action, the surprise, and as part of our proactive strategy, the first hit must be as quickly as possible. We probably should not take 2 weeks to do that. So there I thought we could have shortened that. We should hit them within, if thing like this happens, we must tell them that next time it will not be 14 days, it may be probably a day or maybe less than that if our plans are ready. But amazing work by the Air Force, the BrahMos missile strikes, fantastic, hitting Rahim Yar Khan, and those air bases really sent chill down the spine of the Pakistan military. So that part, yes, very well done. But after that, have we been able to, convey our messaging, and how has the Pakistan military, because the entire Osama emphasis that at least people like me who've been watching Pakistan for years have been saying is we need to isolate the Pakistan military from its masses. It's the military which must become weaker and weaker. But did they become weak? No, the nation rallied, and we have seen the status of their chief suddenly promoting himself to field marshal, going to White House, and now going to China and all. So those are the things which doesn't make me feel very happy about it.
All right. You talk about the messaging part of it. I want to take this to Dr. Brahma Chilani. Sir, Operation Sindoor, it wasn't just military, and this has been established very widely, that it was political, it was strategic, it was very deeply psychological as well. What, according to you, was the message, and what message does it send globally now?
That's what future historians will have to judge. What message did India deliver? Because when you launch a military operation, obviously you launch it not to demonstrate your capabilities, but to achieve enduring results. In this case, the result that India wanted was to tame Pakistan, to ensure that Pakistan in the future would not seek to undermine India's vital interests by waging cross-border terrorism. So did we achieve that result? Have we managed to cut Pakistan to size? Now, these are very important questions, and I'm glad that Parliament will be discussing Operation Sindoor. Now, this is a welcome debate, because if you look at India-China, even though it's more than 5 years have passed since China encroached on key borderlands of eastern Ladakh, resulting in a prolonged military standoff, including a series of clashes that began from May 1st, 2020, there has not been a single debate in Indian Parliament on the situation along the line of actual control with China. So the country does not know fully as to what happened and what the situation is currently along the line of actual control. In contrast, we're having a debate on Operation Sindoor, so that's a welcome change. And I hope that many questions will be raised and that there would be clarification on key issues. For example, let's begin with a very simple element. The first principle of air warfare is that you try and neutralize your enemy's air defenses before you seek to hit the real targets that you wish to hit. Now, we saw that in the Israel-Iran war. Israel concentrated initially on neutralizing and destroying Iran's air defenses, and then having gained air superiority, Israel then had full reign. It could do what it wanted to do. Now, if you look at Operation Sindoor, India gained air superiority on the morning of May 10th. And just a few hours later, India accepted a ceasefire. Now, the CDS, the Chief of Defense Staff, spoke publicly. He gave an interview to Reuters video in which he said that we made a tactical mistake initially, resulting in the loss of certain warplanes. The mistake was that India went after certain terror camps in Pakistan without seeking to neutralize Pakistan's air defenses first. Why did we make that tactical mistake, quote unquote, as the CDS put it? This is an important question that needs clarification from the government. Or why did we suddenly, abruptly accept a ceasefire on May 10th, just as we had secured air superiority on that day? On that morning, we by devastating Pakistan's air bases and neutralizing its air defenses, we secured air superiority. So why didn't we capitalize on that air superiority to deliver some blows? So why was that ceasefire so abruptly accepted? Now, this is an important question again, and I hope the debate in Parliament clarifies at least some of these key questions.
Yeah. The good part about what is going to happen tomorrow is that there actually is going to be a debate on Operation Sindoor. And like Dr. Chelani there mentioned, there are many unanswered questions that need answers, and they need answers from the government. Having said that, AVM Srivastav, speaking about CDS General Anil Chauhan's statements about the timing, about whatever that he has mentioned, what exactly did you make of it, and how do you interpret that particular statement by the CDS?
So, Sama, I must say I have great respect for Dr. Chelani's analysis on subject matters, and he rightly said that probably there was a bewilderment, as CDS mentioned, that we made some tactical mistakes and we were very quick to rectify it. The essence of the whole thing is that. And what did he mean by tactical mistake? If I see from Air Force perspective, probably what Dr. Chelani is trying to bring forward is that why didn't we do the seed operation first, what we call suppression of enemy air defenses, and then going for the terrorist targets. So that means the strategy should have been that we start an all-out war. And I don't think that was the objective in a given frame of mind, as I understand, not being privy to any kind of internal, strategic maneuvers or initiatives. It was to punish and create a punishment spectrum where next time, terrorists don't feel secure and safe behind the lines of Pakistani army or ISI. And it was done in the heartland of Pakistan. We did not suffer any loss of human life. If I'm not talking about a lot of viral videos are there, and I have no confirmation as to loss of aircraft, because all aircraft, there are battle damages which happen if you go into a battle, but if they are recoverable, we don't call them losses. So as I read from the public statements, I don't think we lost any aircraft too. So maybe the priority was to punish and not to start an all-out war. Because if you go for military targets in the first go and suppress, that means you have decided to have a different kind of escalatory ladder. that, okay, you'll do this first and that decimate them. And it's a declaration of different type. So if at the moment the political objective was to punish the people who caused it, and there was a deniability clause available globally for Pakistan that they are non-state actors, what should have been the geopolitical maneuver by the government of India and the strategist? It depends on that. As far as Air Force is concerned, Air Force would abide by whatever objectives are laid out to the armed forces, and Air Force will see what is my part in it. So in that part, Air Force was absolutely precise. There was no collateral damage much to talk about. And when they tried to raise the stakes, we were well prepared to strike and decimate their air defense networks. And almost decimate 20% of the Pakistani Air Force, as it has come out slowly in the media and the global media. So now the question is, what was our national objective? Was it to punish Pakistan, take this as a cue once for all? Was it the moment of a choice that we are ready, completely ready to do that? I don't know, because for that you need a different kind of maneuvering. It's an incident imposed upon you. You're responding to that in a manner that it gets established as a huge deterrent in the minds of the people who try to say that we are non-state actor, but we know they are state actors. And the whole operation in the pause mode, as rightly has been brought out by the general. Now this what happens, that means you're ready. You're ready to respond in the time frame what we wish. We can respond immediately. How this is going to fan out, at the moment we cannot debate on the on a TV channel. But yes, I guess the objective was not to initiate a war. Had it been that, I would agree that we should go first and do the seed operations, completely decimate the air defense network, have the air superiority and air dominance, and carry out what we want to do. And then we need to, if we need to secure certain ground positions, we should move our army and do that. And sea lanes we were protecting in any case. But I think we did, as I conjecture from here, that we wanted to punish them. And thereafter, if they go on escalation, we escalate and escalate to the manner or to the level as is required, so that the terrorists get a message that they are not safe, whether they are in Punjab or behind the lines or behind the protective umbrella of Pakistani army.
Right.
And there's one very big thing which we need to do, that we need to separate Pakistani army from the Pakistani masses. They are not one and same thing. They're different. The thinking is different. The way of doing things are different. So in that sense, if that was the objective, then armed forces achieved that. I can only say as a veteran from the Indian Air Force.
Lovely. Major General Yash Moore, do respond to what AVM Srivastav has said, and also about how it is being interpreted and how it was interpreted by the world, by the superpowers, the so-called Americas and the Britons and Russias and China's. Do you see this as a shift in India's red lines and political will? Does it come across to you as that as well?
No, that was very clear. The messaging, that this is a paradigm shift. There's no doubt. Till now, whether it was Uri or Balakot, we hit targets inside POK. But this is the first time we've gone beyond POK and we've hit targets in depth and known centers of Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. So that part was extremely well done. There's no doubt about it. But where what Dr. Chelani was mentioning, and where we all are feeling a little bit, first is the ceasefire suddenly on a telephone call between DGMOs. The Prime Minister of Pakistan didn't bend, or their finance, or their foreign minister or defense minister, no meeting, or when you and a weaker nation calls for ceasefire, they would rally around and say, we are agreeing to some terms and conditions. We don't know what are the terms and conditions. And when we were just about getting upper hand in those strikes on hitting the
also so many questions on Donald Trump being one of the factors.
Next point I want to come is that when 5:35 our foreign secretary announced this, before that the Rubio's tweet, and then Trump is over 24 times he's been telling everyone, the world press, that I have got it done, I have got it done. So this is the answer the government has to give on these two issues. Why ceasefire? Why suddenly on a telephone call? And secondly, what role has the US played? And also internally, we must know, at least they need not share it in the parliament, what role has China played in this? Are the deputy chief of army staff has openly said that China was it's a reinforced frontier front, and China was giving a live battle situation, and they were feeding Pakistan and helping Pakistan. This is very serious accusations. We are trying to mend our relations with China. The foreign minister, the NSA, the defense minister, all are going, and the prime minister will also be going this year to China. So where does it leave us? And then what the D8 said somewhere in Indonesia, that the political messaging or political objective was hampering or did not allow something like that. So there was what the CDS has said, what the DA said there, and what the deputy chief of army staff has said. Because all of us are veterans, we have no information. None of us even would like to know what happened. These are operational matters. But whatever has come in media, so these are the questions which the parliament should be debating. And rightly, Galwan, we have no idea. 5 years have gone. I think these issues must be discussed, debated, and lessons learned from that. Because if you don't learn lessons, then next time again we may be finding difficult questions ahead of us. Osama.
Vice Admiral Chawla, we spoke about the fallout of this operation. We saw how China and Turkey and other such nations, they got involved. According to you, is India prepared to handle this diplomatic fallout of a doctrine that now looks increasingly preemptive and unapologetic?
This seems to be the trend across the world. If you look at what's happening across the world today, from Israel even to Thailand and Cambodia most recently, there is an sort of a shift towards preemption and the use of military force. Of course, this is not new in the India-Pakistan context. It is a long history, and therefore, what the Prime Minister stated, the policy statement that he gave after the operation ended, he drew the red lines, that we are talking about today, which should send a warning to Pakistan. They should also send a message to us. Both the speakers from the Army and Air Force have mentioned this readiness. And so this message also will send a very clear message to the armed forces that readiness has to be now brought down to a matter of hours. It also sent a lot of messages and taught a lot of lessons on the kind of weapons that are being used. There was a shift in warfare from contact to non-contact to the large-scale use of unmanned platforms, which is evident across the world, not just in India. But it was brought home to us, the need for more advancements, both in offense and defense in unmanned weapons. It also revealed friends and foes and fence-sitters. So I think, as you brought out, Turkey and, of course, China was well known, and a couple of other countries who openly sided with Pakistan. But interestingly, most of their traditional allies did not. They were either neutral, and all of them, without any exception, condemned the attack in the most strong terms diplomatically. So I think overall Operation Sindoor, was a very good short salutary. I would not really carp too much on the timing of the ceasefire, etc., because these are issues which we are not privy to. What really happened? What is the information? What are the compulsions behind the scenes? But I think even in these short 3 days, a lot of lessons and a lot of curtains have been lifted. And I think this would enable us to plan much better for what lies ahead. So I think it's very clear, both diplomatically, militarily, in terms of the information warfare that's happening, in terms of strategic communication, and in terms of the overall national strategy, what needs to be done. And I think it has galvanized the government and the armed forces further. if that and that was required to prepare for such eventualities in the future, or also to prepare for the eventuality that both Pakistan and China, what we call the two-front threat, uh, would be actively colluding. I mean, this was known and suspected, but now it has, for the first time, really come out in the open. So I think all these things need to be hoisted in by all levels of the government, from the political hierarchy to the military leadership to the information domain to the economic side, really. And I think it is a shot in the arm for India. And I would just like to say one more thing that I saw the Home Minister mention this recently, that as India grows in stature, there will be enough people ready to pull it down, even our so-called staunchest allies. So we must be aware that this is the reality of life. Look what's happening to China. China's projected rise to a superpower is being vehemently opposed by the United States, because that's a strategic compulsion of both sides. So will India's rise be opposed. So I think, in a sense, getting involved in a grinding war with an opponent like Pakistan is probably not wise, to my mind. I think it was a short, sharp lesson. We learned a lot of lessons. I'm sure the other side learned many more. And I think this will stand us in good stead as we go ahead.
Yeah, because China has been mentioned so many times on this in this conversation, I want to go back to Dr. Brahma Chilani and your point that you were making on China, sir. How does this impact India's long-term deterrence posture across both the borders, not just the West, but also vis-a-vis China?
I think geopolitically, Operation Sindoor has raised a number of fundamental issues that we shouldn't seek to obscure. First, China played a key role. It was a third party, an indirect party in the conflict. It directly aided Pakistan's military campaign during Operation Sindoor by providing real-time satellite reconnaissance data and other intelligence to Pakistan. It even repositioned satellites so that they could cover Indian military targets better. So it played a very important role in Pakistan's campaign against India. The second element we should not forget, that Operation Sindoor has helped reveal the return of the US tilt toward Pakistan. We have a India-friendly administration in Washington, right? Nobody disputes the fact that Trump is, by and large, an India-friendly president. And yet, Operation Sindoor has revealed that in a conflict, Washington actually is willing to take the side of Pakistan. Whatever role Trump and his officials played, the fact is that they came to Pakistan's rescue. They helped bail out Pakistan from further Indian military reprisals. And since Operation Sindoor ended, it has become crystal clear that the US is deepening its strategic relationship with Pakistan. Trump personally hosted the self-styled field marshal from Pakistan. And all these are troubling questions, that need debate in India.
Dr. Chilani, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but is it also not to do with the fact that there is a president who's quite transactional in nature, and that is what he cares about mostly? It might not be the office, but it's the person leading that office.
Diplomacy, by definition, is partly transactional. Every US president's foreign policy has been somewhat transactional. The difference is that Trump is unabashedly and openly and publicly transactional. That's the difference. Otherwise, when, for example, Prime Minister Modi meets with, let's say, President Xi Jinping, what they're discussing is deal making. It's always, diplomacy is all about deals. It's about deal making. But the point that we should note is that US policy would like to use India against China and use Pakistan against India. Now, to the simplistic Indian mind, this may seem crazy, but not to US foreign policy, which for more than a century has focused on counterbalancing rising powers. So India is a rising power. Is it a coincidence that today US policy in relation to Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar, three of India's immediate neighbors, US policy is diametrically opposite to India's vital interests? Why is it that when it comes to India's own immediate neighborhood, US and Indian interests are so divergent, yet when it comes to global issues or maritime security in the Indo-Pacific, we talk about convergence of US and Indian interests. But in India's own immediate neighborhood, US and Indian interests are clearly and vividly antithetical to India's core interests.
Okay. Major General Yashmore, one final word from you, sir. Has India effectively signaled that it will act without waiting for Western endorsement? And do you think that this is sustainable?
No, it was always this. This was our position, whether it was Kargil or before that Siachen, the way we occupied and surprised the world, or even 71. And I think that that part of Indian diplomacy and a rising power and, such a huge country, we should never seek endorsements, and not from the West, because the kind of doublespeak West has done now, what Dr. Chelani was saying is very much evident. And they will never be there. And US interest with India is, let's contain China, and they want India as a market. These are two absolutely clear-cut objectives of the Trump administration, to sell stuff in India, and also India should be doing, containing China in the Indo-Pacific. So we should be very, very clear. No Western, we have our own interest, and whenever our interests are supreme, we should go and do whatever we wish to do. But the tri-service synergy I spoke of was very good, but we should shorten these timelines. And if you have decided to hit, then we must hit quickly and hit really hard.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for being a part of this discussion. And, all I can say is the kind of civilized discussion that we have had here on NDTV, I hope to see that tomorrow in the Parliament as well, because there are many unanswered questions that the government needs to answer. And we all hope that we get those answers tomorrow onward. Thank you very much for speaking with NDTV. Meanwhile, I'm also currently joined by Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnan, the former GOC 15 Corps and 21 Corps. Sir, thank you very much for speaking with the NDTV. My first question to you is that the Defence Forces, they have given us pictures and details of Operation Sindoor. Are you also expecting more in-depth details of the operation in the Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh and the Prime Minister's speech?
Firstly, I must compliment the government and the Parliament for having accepted this proposal to have a 16-hour discussion, I learned, on Operation Sindoor. It's a very important event. Any military event of this kind needs to be taken to Parliament and explained, put on the bench, put on the table there, and explained to the members of the Parliament, through whom the rest of the public in India comes to know about it. This was an 88-hour war, one of the shortest that we have fought with Pakistan. But it was a very different kind of a war. And that is, I think, an important thing which needs to be explained by the government as to what was the difference in this war. The prime difference, to my mind, was the confidence with which India undertook this operation. Unlike the past, when we mobilized the entire Indian army took it to the border, and we could not thereafter launch a offensive. Here we had the fullest confidence of remaining very, very limited in mobilization and using our partially strategic assets to effect destruction, large-scale destruction on targets inside Pakistan. This is primarily because precision-guided weapons are available with India today. We have drones available with us, and we have a high degree of technology backing it, and the capability also expressed through excellent training. All this came to the fore, and for the first time, we fought a war without territory becoming an important element in it. We were not looking for capture of territory. Essentially, it was for destruction of targets. And you saw the center, with the difference which happened, that we went for Punjab this time. Three major targets inside Punjab: Bahawalpur, Muridke, and Sialkot. All of them were targeted by us using various modern means of targeting, missilery and drones, etc. Thereafter, when there was a response, we were ready with the response once again when Pakistan launched their drones against us. And we went in this time fully against 9 air bases of the Pakistan Air Force and caused a huge amount of destruction. And unlike the past, unlike what happened in Balakot or unlike what happened in the surgical strikes, this time we could actually produce evidence which was made available to the international media, to the national media, to show what was the damage which was caused to the other side. And we learned, for example, that the airbase at Rahim Yar Khan is still down, is still not functional, and the runway is still in a state of disrepair there. So I think all this needs to be brought out in the parliament to add confidence to the parliamentarians and to the rest of the nation. Once the government puts all this on the table, it becomes official. Otherwise, a lot of it remains conjecture.
Having said that, Lieutenant General Hasnan, do you think these speeches will also bring clarity to end any sort of questions by the opposition, especially on Donald Trump claiming that he mediated the ceasefire deal?
Well, I suppose at some stage this issue may come up, but we are all aware of the fact that India announced very early, gave our narrative out very clearly, that it was the DGMOs who spoke to each other, and that was the trigger for the ceasefire. What Mr. Trump says or what the United States claims is their business. Obviously, India cannot intercede on there and change their kind of a thinking. But once the government of India has made a statement on this, and once the army has given this out on behalf of the government also, I don't see any reason why there should be any doubts about it. Well, there could be a discussion on it. Definitely, we are a democracy, and definitely people would want to know more about it. The government will, I'm sure, go whole hog to explain what exactly were from a kind of a day-to-day events which transpired, and that should be the end of it.
All right, Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnan there. Thank you very much for speaking with NDTV, sir. All right, time now for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.